Hallo en welkom bij deze speciale aflevering van de Mantotman podcast. Hierin ga ik, Arjan, in gesprek met Dr. Carlton uit de VS. Dus we doen het gesprek in het Engels. En je kent hem misschien van zijn butt methode. Dat is naar boven, naar beneden, naar links en naar rechts in de anus om die te ontspannen. Deze tip en nog veel meer gaan wij bespreken. Dus blijf kijken, blijf luisteren. Hi, Carlton.
Hi.
How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
You've been here in Amsterdam for Pride.
Yes.
How was it?
It was amazing. Amsterdam Pride was one of the most jubilant, exhilarating prides I think I've ever been to. The canal parade, boat parade was incredible. And I think it's makes Amsterdam Pride very unique in the sense that, nowhere else really does that I'm aware of. Festive atmosphere, straight people, gay people, all trans people, all kinds of people were out, drag queens. Just an amazing time. One of my favorite prides ever, actually.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And how would that compare to like a Pride back home?
Well, I just did San Diego Gay Pride in California, and our parades are along the streets. So we had about 250,000 people lining the streets, and everything is either you walk down the street carrying things, or they have motorized floats. And so that's on a Saturday. And in the evenings, there's dance parties. And it's really whatever flavor you want. There's a bear one. There's a Latin bear one. There's a circuit muscle party type thing. And then in our park, we have a festival that has all kinds of different performers, drag performers, like from RuPaul.
Yeah.
We had Kim Petras and Kehlani perform this year. So a lot of fun. But also it was about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, which is really, really hot. So Amsterdam Pride was perfect. Yeah.
It was quite chilly, I guess, this weekend.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's better for if you're on a boat and it starts raining.
Yeah,
it's a different thing, but as a spectator, it's good to have some cool. So you have 2 kids.
Yes.
Did you bring them here?
Yeah, they're here. My children are adults now, though, so they're 20 years old and they're in university in the United States, and they're on their break. And they love it too. I have a boy and a girl, and they're out, doing their thing and enjoying the streets as well, and having a lot of fun. They're both straight, but obviously very gay friendly because of the environment they were raised in. They have to be, right? Yeah. But yeah, they've been very happy with the trip so far.
You are quite big on Instagram and on TikTok.
Yes.
How did this start?
Well, my children were about 14 years old when COVID hit. And so they were wrapped up in this thing called TikTok, and I had no idea what was going on. I was incredibly stressed out because for the first time as a medical provider, I could walk into a facility, get an infection, walk out and die. So I was terrified. So for me, I needed something when I got home to kind of release stress. So I decided to turn this TikTok thing on one day just to see what was happening. I did it about 8 o'clock at night. And then I looked back up at the clock and it was midnight. And in that short span of time, actually within the first 15 minutes, TikTok's algorithm had figured out that I was not only homosexual, but it loved hairy guys. So they started feeding me videos of all these hairy gay guys. And I was definitely down for that. But I just thought it was really interesting how the algorithm can figure out what you like and who you are very quickly. I was a lurker for a while, and then I started following some other medical providers who provided care for their own communities or for their focuses. And because I'm a gay man and openly sex positive, and also a gastroenterologist, which takes care of the colon and rectum and stomach and intestines and pancreas and all that other stuff, I thought, well, who better to talk about anal sex than a gay gastroenterologist? So I made a few videos titled Anal Sex 1 and 2, and just to see how it would go over. And I had a Midwestern housewife post immediately back. The first comment that I ever received was, "How dare you post a video about anal sex on a children's app?" And I said, "Oh my God, should I get rid of this app, or should I block this lady and just keep it and move on?" And that's what I did. I blocked her and turned my phone off, turned it back on the next day, and I had about 50,000 new followers. Remarkably, 50,000 of the 50,000, 75% were women. So definitely there's a strong urge to learn about anal sex, even for everyone. And as TikTok grew over time, I became more queer focused. But still, I wanted to create another. I had so many threats of being banned from TikTok because of the topics that I talk about. It's very sensitive material, and censorship is really high in America. So, you can't even spell sex in a lot of things. You have to spell it SEGGS, which is segs, which I think is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Because everybody knows what you're talking about. So I created an Instagram account to just focus more on queer health. And then when the Mpox epidemic hit, I already had a pre-built platform to help educate people on the disease, on how to help them find care, help people find prevention through vaccines and vaccine clinics. I would list like 100 vaccine clinics a day in my stories. I had several lives through social media that helped people get informed about what it was really like to have Mpox and why you don't want to get it. And that really catapulted me on social media. And it's amazing because some of the things that I did on social media through people who followed me got information on what it was really like to have Mpox and what treatments worked and what didn't work. And there's a treatment for pain control for rectal monkeypox that actually came about because one of my followers had taken this medication that his father had laying around, and he felt much better after taking it. So I recommended that to other people. Other people followed that advice, were remarkably impressed on how well it worked. And then I formulated that in a letter to the CDC and got it approved for the treatment protocol. So social media can be a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not always bad. And that work kind of propelled me to a lot of things. I was in the Out magazine, Out 100 one year, and the Queerty Pride 50, and went to the White House, not in this administration, obviously, twice. And I also got the chance to judge International Mr. Leather this year, which was a phenomenal experience. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh, that
later.
was amazing. Yeah.
But when it comes to social media, I know that you are pretty much in touch with your followers, right? You
I say pretty, it's, by the way,
direct.
There's no Dr. Carlton team. It is me. I answer every message. I do everything. I make all the videos. I do all the editings, all the captions, everything. Wow. So it's me that's doing this. It's not anybody else. So if someone has a question, I will answer it. And like this morning, I had someone from India who wanted to get on PrEP, and they saw the photos of my Pride experience here in Amsterdam. They said, "Wow, I'd really love to go to a Pride. I'm not sure that how I would get out to do it. Can you help me figure out where to go?" And I said, "Well, can you go to Amsterdam? This is great. There's plenty of Indian people that I've seen here, so you should be able to come and hopefully check it out one day." One guy who was from India who was who was HIV positive, and I talked him through why it was important to get treated. And he sent me his labs this morning that he was down to almost undetectable, and he was feeling better and that things were going well. So and I get a lot of questions about emergency post-exposure prophylaxis, about problems with people's anus and rectum, like fissures and hemorrhoids. And I came up with a technique to help people have better anal sex, to help loosen up for penetration. Yeah.
The clock technique.
The clock technique. And that's really been a game changer for a lot of people. Yeah.
Can you just, for those who do not know this technique, can you explain it?
So if you think of the anal canal as a circle like this, if you stick your finger in about 2 to 3 centimeters and hold the firm pressure over laterally at one of the clock positions, like 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock, or like a compass style, east, west, north, south, is hold pressure there for about 15 to 30 seconds. That tight little circle starts opening up. And you can keep going around and around until things really, really loosen up. And it's like a key to a lock. It really opens the back door, so to speak. So, and it's been a game changer for a lot of people. It's replaced poppers, actually, for a lot of people. And poppers are now illegal in the U.S., so... Yeah.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah. So I'm glad we have at least the technique. So
are they like really illegal? I read one article that on one day factories were closed.
Yeah.
So it felt like really.
It felt like the end there for a while, but you can still go to the gay bookstores or gay adult stores and still get them.
Okay,
so,
but they're just not produced in the States anymore.
I'm not sure about exactly about what's happening, but you know, if these are just like stores of old stuff that was an old supply that's going to be dwindled out over time. But in a lot of places they were already quote illegal already, but people were still using them.
Yeah. Okay, so good that there are alternatives
there are alternatives.
Opening up.
Yeah.
So, as a
gastroenterologist,
that's very difficult.
It's a long word. Yeah.
What would be like your key takes for like anal health for gay men or for people who have anal sex?
Yeah,
anyway?
for anal health. One of the biggest things I think that's important for people to realize is that the HPV virus or human papillomavirus causes anal warts and also genital warts. And that virus can cause cancer over time, especially if you're HIV positive. There's a tremendous compound effect of being HIV positive plus having HPV on your cancer risk. So I really highly recommend for people to get vaccinated for HPV. In the U.S., at least, it's approved up to age 45. And it's usually a 3-shot series, but a recent study showed that even 1 shot provides the same amount of cancer protection as 3. So if you're one of those that can't get the vaccine or can only maybe afford one of them, at least it's better than nothing. As far as hemorrhoid prevention and goes, I think it's important to realize that the hemorrhoids are normal veins around the anal canal, and they're both internal and external. And the way they flare is through pressure changes. So if you're having to squeeze really hard to have a bowel movement, or if you're at the gym and you're doing squats and you're breathing improperly, you can Valsalva blood flow down into into those veins, and they can pop out and create havoc, especially for bottoms. So having a high fiber diet with lots of fluids helps prevent hemorrhoid formation from just a digestive standpoint. Not straining on the toilet or at the gym also is another big one to help with anal health. And then obviously fissure. A fissure is a tear in the lining of the anal canal. And usually that happens when someone either penetrates you too fast without letting you warm up with like a butt clock technique or poppers, or an exit injury where you have a bowel movement that's so large in diameter that it comes out and it just causes a tear. So loosening up properly and warming up for anal sex is one way to prevent that. And then obviously making sure that your bowel movements are regulated better is a way to protect against exit injuries. And then STIs also happen in the anus and the rectum. Yeah,
they
so
do.
it's and that's one thing in America that a lot of people don't understand is that you have to check all your holes when you get tested for STIs. So gonorrhea and chlamydia only show up where you're infected. There's not a blood test or a urine test that shows for your whole body what's happening. So if you use your penis or vagina, then a urine test is probably going to be the best way. If you use your mouth, if you suck dick, or if you've eaten ass, or then you're going to need to get your throat swabbed. And if you've been penetrated, then you're going to need to have your anal canal swabbed as well for gonorrhea and chlamydia. because I've had numbers of patients who've been only positive in one of the three areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, at one time. And if they had not had all three tests, they would have never known they had it. And these kind of failures to test properly are what propagates infections throughout the community, because people think that they're okay and they're really not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen some cases of rectal chlamydia and gonorrhea and syphilis that were just horrific. So, definitely getting tested for them so that they don't get out of control is really important.
Yeah. Speaking of chlamydia, I don't know if you heard, but in the Netherlands, our general, like the municipal health services have stopped testing for chlamydia unless someone has complaints that could be chlamydia related. And they've done this mostly because the new studies have proved that the whole idea that chlamydia causes infertility are false. And that basically chlamydia is just not so much of a problem and goes away on its own. But we're the only country in the world that does this. So
Right.
I'm wondering,
I highly disagree.
What are your
with
thoughts?
I highly disagree with that approach, because I think that, like I've mentioned, as a gastroenterologist, I've seen people with anal rectal chlamydia that have really horrible signs and symptoms. And I think the correlation between sex and fertility is moot, because people have sex without, especially us, without trying to have a baby. So I think anything you can do to properly identify an infection so that it doesn't get propagated through the community is great. So I would disagree. Yeah. That's wild. I didn't know that. Glad to hear it. It's always interesting to learn something new about a place, though.
Yeah, it's since this year.
Yeah.
Basically, since the beginning of this year, doctors like family doctors still test for it. And of course, if you have complaints, then they will. Then also the municipal health services will test for it. But it's a new approach, and we'll see what it gets.
I think for us, like when we go to our doctors to get our prep, we get a prep check every 3 months. So we get our creatinine drawn, which is a blood test for kidney function. We get an HIV test. We get a hepatitis testing, and we get throat and rectal swabs for gonorrhea and chlamydia, and then also a urine test for gonorrhea and chlamydia. And then obviously we also get the syphilis blood test too. But yeah, that's something that's just done routinely every 3 months.
Yeah. Here it's changed to every 6 months.
Every 6 months.
Yeah. So also
that's a long time.
Difference.
That's a long time, I guess. The other thing I wanted to point out earlier, like you mentioned, is chlamydia. Often the number one sign of an STI, the number one symptom of an STI, is no symptom at all. So 70% of STI cases frequently don't even have a symptom.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to still check.
Yeah. I was so jealous of people who do not have any symptoms. That would be so easy. Yeah. But okay, good for the 70%, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had STIs before. I'm just like everybody else, and I'm really open and honest about how I communicate with people. And I think that's one of the reasons that people kind of see, even though I'm medical, they see me as just like one of them, because I do the same things you do. Yeah, and get the same testing and take the same medications.
Yeah. So you are very open about your sex life, basically. How does that, in sort of conservative America, how does that influence the way you are seen as a doctor, or does it influence that? I
mean, I think a lot of people were initially warning me not to do that because they were afraid that it would diminish my reputation. But for the people that I'm aiming towards, I think it's more of a refreshing approach that people appreciate. So I don't really care what people think. So I just do it anyway. Yeah. And I have my own podcast called But Honestly, and on that podcast we talk a lot about our own sex lives. And so I think a lot of people are a little bit shocked, but most people really find it refreshing that we're open and honest, and it feels like a conversation with two friends talking about, like, you're in the room with us and you're talking with us. You know?
Yeah, because I think a lot of gay sex also comes with some shame, especially bottoming. There's a lot of shame surrounding that.
Yeah.
Also, when you have to like talk to your doctor and say, "Oh, thanks for the cup to pee in, but I also need my ass checked."
Yeah.
You know, there's always some shame coming with that.
And there shouldn't be. You're right. There is absolutely shame for a lot of people, but there shouldn't be any shame because infections are just infections. They're not. They don't define who you are as a person. You know, and we all have gotten something at some point. You know.
Yeah.
If we've played enough.
If we've tested.
Yeah. Or if we tested. Right. Correct.
So when it comes to shame, I think my colleague has told me that he saw your one of your videos about the butt clock technique, which really helped him, and he also shared it with his friends, and they all gave back like, "Oh, this is such a good trick," and seemed to also help a bit with that shame, bottoming shame.
Yeah, I think being open and honest and talking about it takes away a lot of the shame of it. There's a lot of, in our community especially, there's a lot of people who think of bottoms as less than, you know, that you're not as important as tops, or they're too femme, or, you know, you know, that person is short, so they must be the bottom, and that person is tall, so they must be the top. That's not the case. You know, anyone can bottom. Everybody's got a butt. Yep. You know, so, and our prostate gland is in there. If you're wondering where that is, if you're behind someone and they're bent over and you stick your finger in and press down about 6 o'clock, it's right there. And if you're facing them and maybe giving them a blowjob or something, and you're in front of them, then it's up at 12 o'clock. But that simultaneous oral stimulation of the penis and the rectal stimulation of the prostate is incredible. First time a guy did that to me, I thought I was going to shoot off to the moon. You know, it was great. Yeah,
it's popular among straight men. I think, this combination,
and it should be. I mean, that's our pleasure center. There should be no shame. You know, and even with anal sex, it doesn't make you gay. If you know, like if a woman pegs a man, I see nothing defining about that. You know, anal sex doesn't have a femininity or a masculinity aspect. It doesn't have you know, any other defining aspects. Now, someone may want to define themselves as a top or as a bottom, but that's fine. But yeah, I think that a lot of the shame should be let go. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But I think we got a long way to go.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Patriarchal systems.
Right.
All right. So I want to highlight another difference between the medical situation in the Netherlands and in the United States.
Right.
And that is doxypep. You are a great promoter of doxypep.
Yeah.
Here, the official advice is to basically not use it. And if you need to use it, go talk to your doctor and see if you can get both the doxy, of course, but also the guidance that is needed.
Yeah.
In the United States, it's been... The use of doxypep is, I think, been okayed by the CDC. Yeah,
just in the last year. We've been using it for a while, kind of under the radar. The Kaiser San Francisco group did a study of 1,200 people that were on doxypep, that were on PrEP. They compared people who were in one group that had doxypep versus another group that had no doxypep. And there was an 80% drop in syphilis and chlamydia cases in those on doxypep, and only about a 10 to 15% drop in those for gonorrhea because doxy is really not used to treat gonorrhea, so it makes sense that it wouldn't be protective. And the way STIs are skyrocketing now in the age of PrEP, where people aren't using condoms as much, at least in the U.S., a lot of people don't use condoms. It's like almost non-existent.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, but I know it's kind of a newer thing in Europe that people are shying away from condom use like before. But I think it's important to get ahead of the game and to start knocking those numbers down. So if we can, as a community, do stuff like this, we can really reduce our risk. So what DoxyPEP is 200 milligrams of doxycycline. You take it within 24 to 72 hours after a high-risk exposure. So say you go to sauna NZ and you have some fun. You go home, go to sleep, and then if you're not going to have sex anymore for the next couple of days, go ahead and take your 200 milligrams. If you're going to continue to have sex, take your 200 milligrams when you're done, as long as you take it within 72 hours of your first exposure.
Yeah.
So I take it, and it's dramatically reduced my risk, my infection rate.
Yeah. So your advice is to take it after like higher risk moments.
I think higher risk moments is probably the best middle ground for a lot of people, because a lot of people are nervous about resistance formation. A lot of people are just nervous about this in general. But a lot of people also were when PrEP came out 12 years ago, a lot of people were worried, is it going to cause resistance in HIV? And that hasn't been a thing. So I think, and doxycycline is an antibiotic that doesn't really have much resistance. So, and people have been using it for decades for skin problems. So, I think that I personally, until I see something that makes me change my opinion about that, like some actual data, I think for now, anything that can drop our rates by 80% is something we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Dutch advice is mostly about resistance.
Right, yeah. And it makes a lot of people nervous.
Yeah. And about the lack of data on this subject. Although, as you mentioned, it's been used for lots of years. Of problems.
Yeah, and for lots of problems.
Yeah. But I think here in the Netherlands, we are like, our doctors are like infamous for their refusal to
treat
anything with anything else than paracetamol.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like if you look at the antibiotic resistance rates in the Netherlands, they are very low compared to Italy's. I think they are the highest in Europe, and it's because of all of these measures that people just don't get antibiotics for something that it doesn't need.
Yeah.
But I think the jury's still out on a like definite verdict. So the advice is now, until we are more certain, this is our advice.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that we're going to gather some data for it.
Yeah.
So we can help edge it along one way or the other for people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned NZ. You've been.
Yeah. I stood in line for 2.5 hours. That was Pride weekend. So yeah. But it was worth the wait. It was really interesting. I don't think I really got a taste of Amsterdam so much because everyone was in from Europe and America. Yeah. So there's two Polish brothers in line behind me, and although the line was taking forever to move, they said, "We're not going anywhere. We're in a small Polish village. This is our only chance. There is nothing like this in Poland. We are going in there tonight." Well, like
not in their village.
Not in their village. Yeah, there's nothing like this in our little village in Poland. So we're here. We're going to take advantage of this. We don't care how long it takes. Yeah. So, but it was about a 2.5 hour wait.
Super long.
Yeah.
Super long. Although I must say that on a regular Saturday, it's always a bit of an international crowd. Always.
Sure. Oh, it makes sense. So, it's Amsterdam. So.
Yeah. I've never been to a gay sauna in the US. What are they like? I'm imagining they're quite the same as in Europe.
They're very similar, actually. And then it depends on where you go. A lot of them are a little bigger, and they have private cabins so that you can actually rent a cabin for a few hours, so you can have some privacy.
Lock the door.
Yeah, you can have privacy. They also don't check your bag for drugs like they do here. Like you couldn't take if people had poppers, they wouldn't let them in. If they had any sort of drugs, they weren't allowed in. They went through your bags. It was a very safe thing, and it was probably good for health for people, so that they didn't have to have some people in there patrolling to make sure people hadn't passed out from drug use. But I just was in Chicago at International Mr. Leather, and the Steamworks there was quite large. It had multiple floors, and it had your dark rooms, your sauna, your glory holes, that kind of thing. It's pretty much the standard fare.
Yeah. But bigger, because NZ is quite small.
Yeah, but usually bigger. And most things, except for certain things, are a lot bigger there because we have a lot more land mass.
Oh yeah, of course.
So it's the roads are wider, the cars are bigger, the homes are bigger, just because that's the way it is.
Yeah. But the dicks are smaller. I mean,
from what I've
heard something about Dutch dicks.
The Dutch dicks are very impressive. Yeah. Dutch people are big in general, but they're very blessed there too. It seems, not to make a generalization, but to make a generalization.
All right. So a question popped up, and then my mind went to dicks, and now it's gone.
Yeah, that's okay.
From the sauna, I was going to go to. You mentioned the searching for chems on people at the entrance.
Chemsex. Yeah.
Let's talk about chemsex.
Yeah.
What is happening in the U.S. concerning chemsex?
Well, we have a different fear than you guys. Here, there's not much fentanyl. But in the United States, fentanyl creeps into a lot of our party drugs. And even a small amount of fentanyl, we're talking micrograms of fentanyl, can make you stop breathing and die. So there's a lot of our harm reduction now is focused on not dying from a fentanyl overdose. So we're talking fentanyl test strips, sort of basically like COVID tests. You take a little of the drug, you dissolve it in fluid, and you stick the little stick strip in there. And if it lights up, you've got fentanyl in there, and you shouldn't do that drug. Also Narcan, which is a spray. It's an naloxone spray that you can spray into someone's nostrils who's passed out from a drug overdose. That is a big lifesaver as well. And so there's a lot of people who are teaching how to use Narcan on harm reduction. There's also a lot of people who are promoting fentanyl test strips and things like that. Again, with our administrative changes in the United States, who knows how long these organizations are going to be funded to be able to do this kind of stuff. But definitely, and I think they are pulling away a lot of remarkably, our Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., was a heroin user in the past, and now he is pulling funding from narcotic overdose prevention, which makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
But nothing in that administration makes sense. It's funny that the people that it's funny and tragic in that the people that they always confirm for posts are the exact opposite of who you want to be in that post. It's like a design to tear it all down.
Yeah.
Just like tear down the government.
From the outside, it does definitely look like that.
Yeah. From the inside, it feels the same way. Yeah.
So these must be like, I'm gonna get back to chemsex in a bit, but these must be like confusing times to be an American.
Yeah.
And not have any clue what's next, basically.
Well, I mean, first they came for trans people, and they've basically erased trans people. Any of our health information on our government websites was initially all taken down, and then a court made them put it back up. But now at the top of each page says something anti-trans about how they don't believe in, they think that being trans is a mental illness, and they don't agree with this, but we have to put it up anyway. They've erased trans people from the Stonewall in LGBTQ memorial, and they've just erased bisexuals from it as well. So it's like, okay, who's next? So a lot of us are afraid. We don't know what's going to happen. I think the midterm elections, which happen in a year and a half, will determine a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If we can flip the House and Senate so that Trump can't get away with as much, then we'll be better off. If we don't, I know a lot of people who are considering just leaving, becoming refugees. You know, a lot of people are moving to Canada or somewhere in Europe, you know. And even my husband and I have had the conversation, hey, where do we go?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go if things get worse? Because we don't want to. One of the things that's been really powerful for me going through Europe was at each stop, because my children are Jewish, we've gone through all the World War I and World War II stuff, and a lot of the concentration camps, and how Jews were ostracized and then exterminated.
Yeah.
And especially with our, not necessarily with LGBTQ people, but especially our migrant population, they're suddenly being treated the same way, put in prison camps, and it's a very scary time. Like I would hate to be an immigrant in America right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think there's like, you live in California?
Yeah, I live in the most liberal
liberal
state. Yeah, oh yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, this is where you want to go if you're going to go. Yeah,
yeah,
New York or California. Yeah.
So does that change things? Does that make it like safe?
Well, our local government and our state government do a lot more to protect us than if we were in a more conservative state. So abortion access is based on where you live. In California, you can still have an abortion if you want to. A lot of places you can't. So you know, there's a lot more acceptance of homosexuality there. You can live freer. You can do, you know, pretty much do your own thing. But, you know, you get into some of these smaller, more rural, more conservative, poorer places, they tend to vote to the Conservative Party, which has the exact opposite of their interests in mind when it comes to, they use religion as a tool to manipulate people, or they use like trans people to scare people into thinking that, you know, all the liberal people want everybody to be trans. So, and it's just remarkable. I mean, I gotta say, it's remarkable how well they did with that. I mean, it's shocking. I mean, it's very disappointing, but wow. You know, find one hot button issue and you can get away with whatever you want to get away with. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange to see.
It's strange to us too, don't worry. Yeah.
Okay, let's steer away from
go back to Chemsex.
Politics and go back to Chemsex. Fentanyl is a problem. What's the situation right now on crystal meth? Because I know that this has been in the Netherlands at least, and I think in Europe, this has only been a problem. Like a few years back, it was a problem, and now it's also not that much of a problem anymore compared to then.
Yeah.
But I know that in the US, it's been like 20 years ago or something, it was already a problem.
It continues to be a big problem. Crystal meth it's one of those things that's what I'm finding, at least in the United States, is very difficult to just casually do crystal meth. It's, you know, I had a 70-year-old lady in my office the other day who came in and she had a nice dress on and looked like a businesswoman. And I saw her social history in the chart and said, oh, wait a minute, it says you use crystal meth here. That can't be right. And she's like, no, I casually use crystal meth. And I'm like, wow. As someone who's seen an intensive care unit with people lined up bed after bed from strokes from crystal meth use because their blood pressure went too high, it's something that I've never tried, and I'm terrified of trying because I know how it can devastate people, take away their teeth, take away their appearance, take away their money, send them down towards poverty and crime, and end up in, if you get caught with it, you're in prison. You know? So I think it's a really scary thing. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was more related to crack. I had when I was in training in the 90s in Boston. This was before the HIV cocktail came out. There was a crack whore with AIDS in about 1995, and she was dying. And we got to be very close. I would go in and talk to her every day for a long time. And she mentioned to me that she was addicted to crack. And I said, well, how did you get addicted to it? And she says, well, somebody in the neighborhood gave it to me one day and I liked it. And then I started buying it. And then I ran out of money. So I started selling all my things. And then I started selling my body. And then I got HIV.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I got out of the neighborhood that I was able to stop it because I didn't have the temptations. Because she said, once you put yourself in the barber's chair, you're going to get a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to sound like I'm being judgmental about people using drugs. People are going to use drugs. I get that. I don't think there's any judgment or shame there. I just know that there's a definite big risk of mortality, especially with crystal meth and heroin and things like that. Other drugs, not as much, but definitely those two are scary.
Yeah.
And
there's always a risk, of course, with whatever you take,
whatever you do.
but sometimes the risk is
greater,
much higher.
Yeah. So I'm all about harm reduction, but especially when it comes to more extreme things like fisting and stuff like that, I think it's important to be as not high as possible. Because you don't know when your body's getting injured, and especially
so you're aware of what's happening.
Yeah, because in something in fisting, you could die. If you get punched the wrong way. So I think when I teach fisting, I tell people to try to be as in control as possible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you teach fisting.
Mm-hmm.
Twice a year
in Dallas, Texas, actually. Yeah. Yeah. There's an organization there that flies me out twice a year to do these fisting weekends. And they have about 45, 50 slings set up, a DJ, guys from all over the world. And they come in for like about 100 guys and then there's the local guys that can come, buy passes and come in too to the play parties. But I always do an information session at the beginning to teach people safety, anatomy, and technique. And it actually goes over really well. And people say that, they learn things that they never really knew. We talk about douching and proper technique for that, especially for something more extreme like fisting. We talk about safety, lubrication, and being in control.
Okay. Can you give like the key advice when it comes to douching?
Yeah. Douching is one of those things that some people can get away with not doing. I am not one of those. I have to be clean. For me, it doesn't feel good to not be clean. And I also don't want a big mess when I'm having sex. It's, there's no shame to it. It's where shit happens, right?
Yeah, but it's a mood killer.
But it's a mood killer, right? And so I tell people to not overdo it with the amount of fluid that they insert, because if you overdo it, I have a video on my Instagram that's in the reel section. It's called The Second Hole, and talks about how there's a turn after the first 8 inches of your rectum that water can collect in and then kind of flood back out during sex, or make things worse as far as the clean out goes. So use a small amount of water. You can do it multiple times, but a small amount of water as possible. I tell people taking fiber supplements like psyllium husk daily helps clean out the residue of your system so you can reduce the amount of douching time you need. Yeah. And for me, it was a big deal. Like when I started my fiber supplementation, when I go to clean out for bottoming, it's cut in half compared to what it used to be.
All right.
Yeah.
I always hesitate when it comes to fiber, extra fiber, because I hear a lot of American butt health experts say use the supplements.
Well, that's because we don't get the dietary fiber that we generally need.
Because the bread is weird, right?
It's like it's like potato bread or white bread, flour bread, not whole grain. So the breads here are a lot healthier for sure. And I've noticed even at breakfasts, there's a lot more fiber.
Yes. Hotel breakfast.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know in general.
Those different?
Huh?
I feel like every breakfast everywhere in the world is like continental, some eggs and some bacon.
But it just seems like there's a lot more like whole grain choices as well, especially here. Yeah.
All right. All right, so that's about douching.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, don't overdo it.
Yeah.
And that's enough for fisting as well?
Well, for fisting, it's a lot deeper process. So you're going to have to be a lot more aggressive with that. You're going to there's a lot of dietary issues that go along with cleaning out for fisting. And everybody's different in what their body really handles. So you kind of have to get to know your body and know what you can eat and what you can't eat the day before. Some people start the process the evening before, and then they wake up in the morning, they rinse again, and then they rinse one more time, and they do a little bit deeper with a shower shot. Mm. One of the big things I tell people, it's important not to starve yourself over sex. A lot of bottoms tend to not eat at all because they're afraid they're going to have a bowel movement. Mm. But if you can learn that your body has a special mechanism of causing your intestines to empty. So it's called the gastrocolic reflex. So when food hits your stomach, it causes the colon to release, to move, so that you make room for the food coming in by making your waste exit. So I tell people not to usually eat within an hour or two, but you don't have to starve yourself all day. Yeah. So now that's a little bit more. When it comes to something extreme, like you're going to go to a fisting party, you're going to get fisted all night, you're probably going to not really eat that much. So a lot of times people will take electrolyte solutions and some kind of gummy, that kind of thing, just to try to maintain their calories.
All right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Enough about fisting. I wanted to ask about one other thing.
Sure.
In the Netherlands, we have a lot of our sexual health is basically state regulated. Mm-hmm. So things are paid for by the state in part. Mm-hmm. And some things the state decides, well, this is not so important for the population in general.
Right.
So we won't do it. So we do have Mpox vaccinations, very late, but we have them. But for instance, HPV vaccination was only for girls. Mm-hmm. Now it's also for boys, but until I think 23 years old. Mm-hmm. The gonorrhea vaccine, the
MEMB, the 4C MEMB,
it's not recommended at all. The UK has just started.
Just today started it, and there's only really a 30 to 40% crossover between MEMB and gonorrhea, because they're both gonorrhea and meningitis and Neisseria meningitidis and Neisseria gonorrhea. But the British have said, hey, listen, a 30 to 40% drop in something that we're having the highest level of gonorrhea cases that we've ever had in. Yeah, it's something, and we need to do something. So that's hopeful. Let's see how that goes. I've been recommending it for years on my list of vaccines for people. Yeah, my big ones are hepatitis A and B, HPV, Mpox, and
hepatitis A and B.
So I said hepatitis A and B, Mpox. There you go. HPV. Yeah, those are the big ones. So and then the meningitis vaccines, MEMB for gonorrhea, and then MEN-ACWY, the quadrivalent one for bacterial meningitis, because it seems like in the U.S. at least, in clusters, meningitis outbreaks occur. We had one in Florida last year where 6 young Latino men died of meningitis who were all gay. Yeah, those are the ones that are big on recommendations. And I have like this whole platform about sexual health. Number one, if you're HIV negative and you have risk factors to get HIV, go on PrEP to prevent HIV. If you're HIV positive, get treated to undetectable so that you cannot spread the virus through sex, because undetectable equals untransmissible. You cannot transmit the virus if you're undetectable. Get proper STI screenings like we talked about before with your blood tests, your urine tests, your throat and rectal swabs. Inspect the merchandise before you play. It's kind of hard in the Spa and Zed dark room to do that. But in general, if something doesn't look or smell right, then don't play. Mm-hmm. And then my final one is something that's not really popular here yet, but it's doxypep to prevent bacterial STIs. So that's kind of like, those are my pillars of sexual health.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of organizing to do all this.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a lot. It can be overwhelming for some people, but I try to break it down as to why it's important and why people should do it.
Yeah. And I've read this article a few years ago about black gay guys in the United States having basically no access to any sexual health services. Basically because of where they lived and where the services were. And what do you know is being done about this? Because I did hear, also in the same article read that HIV infections in that part of the population were on the rise instead of going down.
Well, in general, the 2/3 of new HIV cases in the United States every year are in Black and brown people. And Latino people have the highest rates right now and are not dropping despite PrEP. And in the African American Black population, it's starting to at least stabilize and not go up. Okay. So it's the first time. It's the first time in the last year that the rates have not gone up. But still, it's a really big problem. It's a major social disparity to have 2/3 of your HIV cases being non-white people. So it's been a lot of my desire to outreach to organizations that cater more to the Latino populations or the African American populations. I do a lot of work with people in Texas to try to do education on why PrEP is important and things like that. But some of it is cultural. A lot of Black men in America don't want to be considered gay because of the shame that's associated with that and the stigma to it. And they're afraid that if they go on PrEP, it'll identify them as being gay. There is religious stigma that goes along with the same in the Latino population as well. There's religious stigma as well as the social stigma. And there's access to healthcare. A lot of healthcare in the United States is private health insurance. And if you can't afford private health insurance, there are federal programs for assistance through the states, but those are the programs that are now being threatened to be cut by the Trump administration. So it's been, I've had a lot more success since in the last 8 years treating people for conditions because more people have state-based medical insurance that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford health insurance. Like my insurance from me and my husband is $750 a month. Just for insurance.
That's a lot. But
I get my PrEP, which is $28,000 for free because I have insurance, and my insurance company has a contract with with the pharmacy. So, and God forbid, one of the number one causes of bankruptcy in America is being sick, having to go to the hospital. You can rack up bills of hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. Yeah, and you're forced to go into bankruptcy because you can't pay it. So be grateful for what you've got.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, I understand there's a lot of things that if you're able to have private insurance, it's obviously a lot more beneficial, but not everybody has that access. So I understand that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think we're going to end this pleasant conversation. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I love what you do here in the Netherlands. I think it's really crucial and important to provide sex positive education and care to our community. It's an amazing thing to give back to our own community. And in these times, we need each other. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah.